Cool. All right. Episode 1 of the Avid Outdoorsman podcast.
The Avid Outdoorsman, we started this group this year, and since it's a new thing, I'll give you guys a little brief message here. We started this mainly to get the youth involved and keep what we do going. The hunting, the fishing, the trapping, it's all a part of us. And if we don't keep doing it and teaching the kids, then it's going to die off.
You got to pass it down the generations, and that's our biggest goal. We do make our own baits and lures and stuff and sell those. We do have some of our own apparel and things like that. We hold a couple conventions a year. That's another thing we have in the works. And it's really all to keep it going, man, because, especially, let's be real, we all know how the world's going and what direction it's going in, and it's not going in our favor. So getting this word out and keeping these young ones involved, that's how it goes.
And everything we sell, we donate some of the money to the National Trappers Association, which we go live or some sort of that nature and show everybody, our proceeds and what we've done with them. And a lot of it goes into buying stuff to do giveaways for the kids. So, okay. Tonight we have a special guest, Logan Exline.
Iowa native, coon slayer.
Yeah, from Iowa. He's also on YouTube, No Name Trapper. So we're going to go ahead and get started and bring him on here.
Fleshner, how are you, buddy?
And have him tell us a little bit about Iowa.
Let's bring him on. Logan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys.
So just to get started here, we'll just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in southern Iowa. I've been trapping since I was a little boy, back in the 90s. I grew up the southern Iowa life. My dad worked a lot of hours. We trapped, we hunted, we fished. And then as I got older, I joined the military, been working factory work. But I've trapped my whole life, and except for a couple of years, and I've enjoyed every minute of just being outdoors.
So what really got you into trapping?
So I hit this stage in my life where I was kind of not bored of hunting. I love hunting, but I really wanted more to challenge myself more, to learn more about the animals. Hunting had taught me a lot, but trapping had taught me just a little bit more. And so I decided at that point I wanted to challenge myself, start pushing for different species, different, bigger numbers. And then that just kind of roped me in.
Nice. So going off of that, we'll add to it a little bit. So what how did you learn to trap? Was it strictly just being with your dad, or did you learn a lot on your own? How'd that come about for you?
Okay, so growing up in the 90s, back during the fur boom when stuff was worth a lot of money, and my dad working a lot, I rode with him a lot. And so we would, raccoon were worth a lot of money back then, and I would ride with him and we would trap the back roads of southern Iowa. And we mainly ran conibears. And so then after all those years of running conibears, when the prices went down just a little bit and I started trapping on my own, he gave me a bunch of number 1.5 Victor long springs. And so I started out with 1.5 Victor long springs and a couple conibears. And then after that, he bought me a dozen 1.5s. And when I got back from the Army, I started running Duke 1.5s. And then just kind of escalated from there. I wanted to learn more species. Dad was getting into trapping more species. Took off like wildfire.
Yeah. Now, you said something about how you kind of not really got bored with hunting, but kind of wanted more of a challenge. We know obviously some of the difference between that hunting and trapping, but name a couple of those things that are different and how you can learn those animals differently by trapping rather than hunting them.
So with hunting and trapping, there's, growing up in southern Iowa, we were pushing deer. I mean, that you hunted in a group and you push deer, and we use shotguns. And so that's kind of a lot of how I grew up. And then we'd hunt with hounds and do all that. Well, I decided I wanted to anticipate where the animals were going to be without the factor of dogs or a group of guys pushing them.
Right.
And so I started just watching tracks and how the animals were traveling, how they were hunting, and their everyday activity. And that's when I started to focus on putting that foot right on a little piece of pan and catching them in the trap. And it started with raccoon, but it took off pretty quick after that.
And that's one of my biggest things. I had talked to a guy who owns a big piece of property, and it's I guess he does a little bit of guided deer hunts out there. And I asked him about coyotes, and he said, "Well, do you hunt them?" And I said, "No." And he said, "You only trap them, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well, I want that coyote that runs a 5-mile circle in a night to step in a 5-inch square piece of steel, like there's just something about it. It gets your blood pumping. Like, I made that thing step in this one little spot out of all this property, and it's a thrill."
And I mean, that's one thing we talk about too is, growing up hunting as a kid, like you said, you walk in the woods, you either go sit in a tree stand or push some deer. You're not really looking around, you know what I mean? And I mean, now we go out in the woods, like I said, like we were talking before we went live, we're out pulling beaver traps, looking at all the coon sets we're going to set in 2 months. Like, I mean, you look and study the animal completely different when you're traveling.
It's a whole new perspective on things.
But like you said, I mean, a 550 is a 5x5 trap, pretty much. You know what I mean? To get something to step in that thing, that's a big difference. I can shoot a deer with my bow at 40 yards or with a gun as far as I want. You know what I mean?
That's exactly right.
That's the thrill, is getting that thing to step in that square pan and coming and seeing them in the morning.
And I'll tell you what, shotgun hunting in Iowa growing up taught me, when we pushed deer, we ran a guy on each side of the draw and sometimes a third guy down the middle, right? And the first winter I was trapping, late winter, I was looking and I was like, wow, these coyotes are doing the same thing we do, shotgun group hunt.
Yeah.
And they're kind of lazy, just like a dog. They'll cut off and veer off at the end of the draw. And that's when it really started clicking in my head. I don't even have to bait these sons of guns,
Exactly.
We can catch them where they're going,
Yep.
Yeah, Fleshner kind of is like bass fishing in a way.
Yeah,
definitely is.
Yeah.
So, Logan, with everybody has a different reasoning why, and you have been through the fur boom of in the 90s, and why do you trap? Like,
what's
is
keeping
the
you out
strict
there
reason?
every year?
The money's different now. It's not like, hey, I'm going out to make my paycheck.
Yeah. So the goals have definitely changed. I mean, back in the day, obviously, we were all chasing money. Today, I'm chasing goals, right? And I want to set different goals every year, and I want to learn more about these animals every year. So the money's not really a factor.
More of an education purpose for you then.
Exactly. And I get my mind right while I'm out there. I mean, it really helps me relax. It's, there's not a lot of people involved. It really gets my mind right while I'm out there too. And so it's kind of a multi-purpose thing. But I have been working towards finding markets and stuff to bring the money back to it. You got to cover that gas somehow. So I mean,
that's what
and your time.
Yep. And that's how we are. I mean, we elite, like our nuisance trapping, for example. I mean, we'll go out and do nuisance jobs on beavers and stuff. And in those places, we'll go out and get those beaver right now just because, I mean, at the end of the day, we can make more money out of that beaver selling the skull and caster and stuff than really the fur,
Yeah.
So finding those markets, because like you said, it does cost some money to do this. I mean, traps aren't cheap, and gas right now definitely isn't cheap. So, I mean, I'm happy that you're going out and finding those markets. I mean, obviously, we'll always work together to do what we can do too. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we got to fund our bad habits, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that Kahlua and the coffee. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And just another thing about it, like I open up my line every year, and the first few days I'm pretty well set in traps. That's it. And but one thing I do after I've got started is I open it up to anybody. If you want to come down and run my line for 2 days with me, you know what I mean, come on down. And if somebody's kid wants to be involved, you know, I'll take them. I have a kid here in town who he's a little older than me, but he's mentally disabled, and he goes with me all the time, and he enjoys it so much.
Because that's really all it takes. It takes, I mean, even getting, I mean, we're still decently young. I mean, we're both 25 years old. I mean, all it takes is getting that one guy who's involved in the outdoors, that one deer hunter, even that one hiker, you know, hey, just come run this line with me. Okay. I mean, you pop 30 coon on a line, that's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, people get involved in that. And, I mean, that's our goal. I mean, you read our logo, literally, keeping the culture alive. So, I mean, I see that's something you do too, but all it takes is getting someone out one time for them to want to do it.
I've had some similar instances. One time I was at a gas station and blood was just dripping out of the back of my truck. That's crazy. And a couple of guys were, you know, up at the pump, and they said, "Hey, what do you got back there?" And I showed them, and they said, "You got those today?" And I said, "Yeah, just the last couple hours." And that kind of grew their interest, and they're into trapping now as well. So anyway, we can bring it back.
And I tell people, and I'll preach it. And I've also Robbie Gilbert on Trapping Time TV. He's the same way, and he'll say it too. I take my daughter out as much as she wants to go. She's 7 years old.
She loves trapping.
She bought all her own #1 coil springs this year for some mink trapping, and I tell everybody, she'll never be a long liner ever. Yeah. She don't. I mean, she likes to trap, but she will never be a long liner. But at the end of the day, when she's in college and some kids like, you know, trapping's bad or this is the problem, she can be like, no, I've done it. You know, there's a reason that I've done it, and I know why we do it.
That's exactly right.
My mother is a huge example. I mean, you can ask Tucker. She's the other side, you know? And but I mean, I've even got her to a point where you get her speechless because, I mean, people think we do this to come out, kill every animal there is, and that's not it. I mean, we're out here. It's a conservation thing. I mean, we can't just let these animals run rabid. Like, there should be a certain amount of coons on a property. There should be a certain amount of species where they need to be. And if they're places they're not supposed to be, we're here to get them the hell out. I mean, that's what we're here to do.
And I didn't keep any coon last year that were under an XL. I let a lot go.
Because that's a big thing too. Is we're not taking, if we're not going to be able to do anything with that animal and we can let it go, we're going to let it go. I mean, that's just, I'm not going to take a medium coon, come in here, spend 20 minutes skinning it, fleshing it, and hanging it to get nothing out of it. I just pretty much just killed a raccoon to kill a raccoon. That's not what we're here to do.
We love these animals too. We do love these animals, and a lot of people think that trappers and hunters hate the animals, want to kill them all. That's not the case. We're like Dale Billingsley says, we're stewards of the land. We want to help take care of these animals, make sure that the disease don't run through, you know, the populations. If they're dying, if I catch one with mange, which I caught several last year, I want to put them down before they freeze to death. You know, it's the right thing to do, and it
spreads to somebody's house pets.
Exactly,
and it's very common.
Because before you know it, I mean, if you have too many animals somewhere, I mean, there will be a disease that comes around that will get to us. You know,
yeah.
Like, I mean, we have 700,000 white-tailed deer that run around Ohio. You know, I mean, you keep letting these things run rapid and run. I mean, Ohio's not very big. You get 1 million deer population. You're going to see a lot of deer walking backwards in the woods. I mean,
they get crazy. Yeah, they do.
That's not what we want.
Now, most of us know, but what is your preferred animal to trap?
Oh, so growing up trapping raccoons, I loved trapping raccoons, but as time's gone on, I would have to say, actually probably the more rare one here in Iowa nowadays, which is red fox.
Okay.
I like trapping coyotes and stuff too. I love it, but red fox are rare around here since coyotes have taken over. And so a red fox is something I've caught a handful of them, not near as many as I want to, but I also release one here and there, to help keep their population.
Yep.
And I forgot to mention earlier, a big reason I love the outdoors and continue to trap while the money's gone is my boys. I love taking my boys out. I brought home a trap from the ITA convention, and my middle boy caught himself in a number 11. First night. But you know what? He realized what he did wrong, and my dad brought out the antique trap from when I was a kid, and it had it's a long spring, and it's got a piece of wire around the handle, right? So they can practice putting the pan and the dog on without it snapping their fingers. So there's that same trap from when I was 5, 6 years old, and now my boys are using it to practice. So we don't have to
awesome, man. That's what it's about. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
So going for fox as your more favorite animal to trap, and even we'll go to some other animals too, but what is your trap of choice for them?
Okay, so if I were to specifically target fox, it'd be probably a 550, a tall jaw 1.5, like a Bridger 1.5, or a Bridger 2 offset laminated jaws.
Okay.
What type of set do you normally run for those fox?
Well, my go-to set for everything is blind sets. Okay. So I run 1.5s all the time on coon trails I believe coyotes are traveling. Now, if I think it's a coyote trail, I'll go ahead and step it up a trap size, usually to like a 1 3/4 or 550 sometimes, but mainly tall jaw 1.5s, like Bridgers. They're a taller jaw, so you still get the reach up on the paw that you want.
Right.
Blind sets are my go-to for pretty much anything. I'm just now learning baits and lures the last 4 or 5 years, guys.
Yep, and that is a big key thing. I answered the question on my podcast over with Fleshner last week, but baits and lures, it's hard for me to say I have a preferred one. I use a bunch of different things. I mix some stuff up. Sometimes I'll take 2 bottles of completely different brands and actually mix them and use them. Mainly because if a pack of coyotes comes through and I snag one and don't get one of the other ones, I like to have different glands inside my next set. Yeah. I want them to be curious of why that other one came in, why that other one was there.
They don't want to come in and smell the same thing. Then,
yeah, they lose interest.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And so, I honestly, I literally buy baits and lures from every company I possibly can. I might not order $1,000 worth, but I order $50 here, $50 there, and try to. I'll run 4 or 5 sets on the same property, but have different baits and lures at those spots. And I do trial and error. I have the time and I have the properties to do so. So I do run a lot of trial and error with stuff. But bait and lure becomes a big thing for some of the newer guys. And it's something
that's changed the game too.
Yeah.
So many people. I bet if you compared the number of bait and lure makers in the 90s compared to now, it would be insane, the difference.
Yeah.
Everybody's with it nowadays. And but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's one big thing with him and I, with our baits and lures. You're not going to get a bait and lure like ours just anywhere. I mean, we try to keep them different, you know. We try to.
Everybody's got their own style.
Exactly, and some things hit, they smack, and I mean, I know I want to have that in my bag if you got something that's smacking like that. Yeah. So.
I run about 4 or 5 local bait makers right here in Iowa. I run like Bass Brothers, Billingsley, Brand Lures. I run Backwater Bait, Frank's Lures. He's another good one. And I just added Ed Snyder's because he's a really good guy and he's got good stuff.
Yeah, I seen he's going to Maine. Yeah,
he told me about his dream trapping trip, and I'm really excited for him. I could tell he was.
I can't wait to see how he does.
He was telling me that it's so off grid that they're not all they've got is kerosene lamps and an outhouse out there. So there's nothing.
I wonder if that's for sale or for rent. I'm ready to move.
But I run a lot of local stuff too. I got like JR and Sons. I got JC Connor. And I run a lot of local stuff too. I do the same thing, but I also try to help out, you know, even somebody who is a small business owner. You got, I know Jamie Blakely has Blakely Outdoors or whatever, trapping supplies. I order a little bit of different stuff from him, even if it's not his stuff or, you know, I mean, whatever, it's retail. I try to help other businesses out as much as I can.
We'll have to come shop with some of those local buyers in your area when we come to Iowa next year.
Yeah, definitely. And I try to do the same, guys, because if we can't help out these other small businesses, I mean, at the end of the day, then we've lost our way anyway, you know?
Yep. And I tell people all the time that a lot of the things I do are not because I'm trying to be better than you or anything like that. I just try to spread the word, and I try to show people what I do. You know what I mean? If I go out this year and only catch 100 animals out of the whole season, you know, I'm still tickled, you know, like
me too.
I did something. I made my way. I got something out of it, and I'll post pictures, and hopefully somebody else is like, man, that's cool. You know, I'd like to learn how to do that.
And we have a good group of guys here in the trapping community. I mean, we talk about it all the time, Tucker and I. For example, we went to the NTA event. You know, you can talk to the biggest trappers we have here in the country, you know. I go to an NRA event, I promise you I'm not going to be talking to Steve Ranella, you know. Like,
it's tight-knit.
It's tight-knit. We help each other out, and it's not frowned upon to do that. I mean, we're not over here trying to beat up Dale Billingsley for his prices, or you know what I mean? Like, it's not.
He's on here. You better watch what he says.
It's tight. We're a tight knit community. I mean, we talk about how awesome that is all the time. I mean, and it's nice to be able to have guys. I mean, like you, like Dale, like Fleshner Outdoors, to help us out and to be able to help you guys out too. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care how long you've been trapping, hunting, fishing, whatever your thing is. There's always things to learn because everybody does something differently, and if it works, man. I mean,
if it works, it's not wrong, you know.
I mean, look at Justin Deaver, Iowa Trapper. I mean, he literally uses cat food for every single one of his raccoons.
And people were mind blown.
Yeah, you know I mean, they're like, oh my gosh, no way. I mean, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, it's not wrong if it works for you. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're catching fur and you're having fun, that's the right answer.
Yeah. Now, going to coon, and you said you do a lot of blind sets.
Yeah.
So going for coon, I don't know. You guys up there in Iowa can do a lot of right-of-way trapping. So, like here, it's pretty much property owner's discretion, even if it's close to the road. So I have to get a lot of permission. But when it comes to coon, for me, I mean, we run a lot of pocket sets here. At least I do anyway. I run a lot of pockets, mainly because I like catching mink, and I don't mind catching coon.
Nothing wrong with that at all. And I'll tell you, the reason I started that I like 1.5 dry land trapping is just because growing up, guys, when my dad and I pulled up to a culvert, there was already 3 or 4 trappers there.
Yep.
And so we started going the in-between spots, and we caught a lot of fur that way. Now, with that being said, I don't get a lot of mink on dry land, nowhere near water, but I do catch some. But it's more of a bobcat, coyote, coon kind of scenario where you guys get the opportunity down there in the water to catch mink, muskrat, beaver, and I'm going to hone in on that this year a little bit because it sounds fun. Tucker,
you don't do much water trapping?
Well, I'm coming to you next year, so you better pick up some properties.
Yeah, really, man. That's if you pick up some properties, we'll come out there and slam some shit in the water.
Well, guys, I here in Southern Iowa, you don't even need to pick up the properties. I mean, I've got permission on a lot of property, but the main thing is when you can trap the roe, man, you just every bridge, every culvert, any.
I mean, when it comes to water trapping, we have tubs and tubs and tubs full of 110s, number ones, 1.5s, 330s, 330s. We got the water trapping.
I do water trap, but it's primarily in the spring when I'm trapping beaver.
Yeah, you guys have a spring season.
Yeah, and we're not allowed to take anything but beaver in the spring season.
Is that all that concurs is just beaver trapping only that spring? No rats?
We're trying to get it changed. We want muskrats and otter and mink and maybe even coon added because, as you guys know, you slap in a castor mound, you're going to catch all of those things.
We've caught about just as many coon as we've caught beaver out of that beaver job we were telling you about. We get them in our castor mounds all the time.
Exactly, and that's why we got to implement tricks just to not catch raccoon. But last year I had this otter just harassing me while I was trying to put in a castor mound. He did not want to leave. So it was almost dark. I had to just snap the trap off or I would have had an otter the next day. And they are not fun to release. I'm glad that's on this day.
And when it comes to culvert trapping here, it's hard for me. I don't know. There might be some people that know him, but Randy Schwarm lives by me. He is a huge mink trapper. And there ain't a culvert and 100 miles that this guy don't have locked down. So I mess with him all the time because he'll set the culvert and then there'll be 200 foot of creek and I'll pick up that creek and trap that in between him because he only likes some culverts. He can pull up in the morning with a flashlight real quick and check it out and move on.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of guys do trap. And so now that the competitions went away, I do trap culverts frequently. But it's a different story nowadays. You set a trap up high where people could see it. They're not really interested in stopping the steal because it ain't worth nothing to them,
Yeah, exactly.
And my biggest thing around here is a lot of the trappers local I know. So we all we know where each other trap and we kind of keep an eye on things for each other, I guess you could say. So we're kind of tight knit here too. We can keep an eye on everybody's stuff.
That's good. And I try to get that way with farmers as well. And just last year, the year before, an old guy's cattle had gotten out and he needed help round them up. I stopped the pickup, ran up there. We gotta help those guys out.
I picked a horse up one day. A horse fell downhill and couldn't get back up.
Ooh.
I went and that farmer was like, "Oh, we'll just put a tow strap around it and hook it to my four-wheeler." And I'm like, that ain't happening. So I lifted with everything I had and got that horse to stand back up. And he's like, "What do I owe you?" And I'm like, "You don't owe me nothing. I trap here, just."
That's how we are, man. Same guy. He's got 2 ponds, fields, and everything else that he lets us trap, and he cuts a lot of hay out in those fields, and we tell him like, "Dude, you need to bale hay, you call us." Like, we're not asking you to call us, we're telling you to call us. Like, you come out here on this land that you've worked your ass off to get, and he lets us really do whatever we want out there.
Yeah.
If you're going to give me that much room to wiggle, you call me when you need me. And we went by there one day. He had just cut his fields. We pulled in. Why the hell didn't you call us? How the farmers are, though, man. They get stubborn in their ways, and they're like, "I ain't calling you kids."
I had a tornado hit here near town a few years ago, and I contacted my the guys who had cattle and stuff around, saying, "Hey, you need anything at all? You just like I'm there, because that's how us trappers are, anyways. I feel like you guys are that way. I know if somebody needs help, I'm going to help them, while
Because
I'm
it's the
out.
land too we care about, man, not just these
Yeah,
animals. That's why we do this, is keep that land the way it needs to be. I mean, and if those farmers get to a point, because you got a lot of those old stubborn farmers. I mean, they get old and can't do certain things, and got a property that has hundreds of acres, and now it's just kind of gone to shit because you don't have the help to do it. I mean, I'd quit my job to go work on a farm. You know what I mean? So just call me.
To be outdoors and help them.
Yep. I mean, the place we hunt. I mean, his uncle's that way. He's stone cold farmer, been his whole entire life. He doesn't call anybody to help him with anything. I mean, and he's got 200 acres, been ran over by a combine and everything at this point in his life, and he still does it. Does it all himself.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's how they are, though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Dale's laid up sick, huh?
Yeah, he's been sick for a while. That COVID hit him hard.
You going back to coon trapping, I know you said you do like a lot of those blind sets, running those 1.5s. Do you also run dog proofs and any conibears for them as well?
I do. If you look at my arsenal of coon traps, it's going to be 1.5s, dog proofs, and 220 conibears. And
so what's your difference in placements on those then? Because obviously you'll probably run all three of those traps in different types of settings, different types of trails and places.
Okay, so if I've got a steep incline, I love to run 220s, especially a lot of times there's a tunnel already over the top. So that's where I'm going to slap in a 220 and let that coon walk up that trail, and he don't mess that trail up then. He just gets hit and he falls down off the side and hangs from the chain, and he's done. Now, so 220s if I don't want the trails messed up, but also you got to be 200 yards or more away from a house. So. Okay. If I get anywhere near where there's lots of houses or I see dogs roaming, I'll just slap in a DP. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
1.5s are my favorite, but typically where I'm going to run them is where I can catch that animal and it still not be seen when you're driving by.
Yeah.
So it kind of varies by the situation, but also I won't hesitate to throw a DP, a 1.5, and a 220 all on the same trail if the situation falls.
And that's what I was telling you the other night when I was messaging you. I'll set up 2-3 snares on a coon trail.
Yeah.
On the same one, I mean, just
Dale's that way too.
I goes for anything, really.
Yeah, and I tell everybody that whole set and get out deal is old news. You know what I mean? Set your 3, 4, 5 traps. If it's good for one, it's good for many. And a lot of the times, if you set cameras on some of your traps and watch, I've caught animals and I've watched the next one walk right over top that one, like, oh, you're dead, and kept moving, and it's like, oh, okay, so I might as well keep the traps in the same spot.
We got a guy in Kentucky who sends us trail cam pictures, and he'll have 6, 7, 8 coyotes on his trail cam at one time. And okay, as a trapper, you go out and make one dirt hole set, have 1 550 in there, you're done. You set clay mines out on that place.
And Dale has that video of capitalizing on the insane moment.
Yeah, that's a great video.
That's a great video.
And I push that. I have a video that a guy sent me. There's like 8 coyotes, and they're literally in a food plot. They're not attacking nothing. They're not denting up, nothing. They're just running through, and they're playing and whatever. And I'm like, I use that video with Dale's video. And I try to push both of them onto people. Like, this is what this video is talking about.
And
like,
you see Dale just posted right here. I'm 4 to 6 sets on each side of the road per stop.
Yep.
I mean, and it happens. We were just at that place where beaver trapping at when we were hitting that place real hard. I mean, we had a tree here, came and cornered right here, water on both sides. We doubled up literally twice in a row with that.
Yeah.
I mean, one time it was a coon and a beaver, but still.
Nothing wrong with that.
No,
Nothing
we're
wrong
doubling
with
up.
all that.
Especially wintertime comes, I'll take that all day long.
Same here, same here. And one thing you guys mentioned that I think is very important is I did a video called Back to the Basics. And I was talking about foot tracks. I always pay attention to foot tracks and and scat, right, when I'm out looking around, because before trail cams, that was the story. That's how you could tell what was going on and how many animals came through. Now with trail cams, they're such an amazing tool that we're just not taking advantage of fully.
We're so spoiled nowadays, it's sickening.
It is. Those guys didn't have that back then. They just had to watch the tracks, see how the animals were acting based on foot tracks alone.
Yep. And a lot of the times the reason I like having my trail cameras is not even for me, but just I like showing them pictures. I like bringing them pictures up and being like, well, you can see the beforehand picture, and then you can see that next picture of that animal there coming through that trail, like, or something like that, to be like, this is right here where you see that is where your set needs to be, or you can tell how that animal walks. So if you're going to set 2 or 3 traps on this trail, you need to realize that animal's steps are 4 to 6 inches apart, so to set them too close or too far away, it could hurt you, but it's just something to keep in mind.
Well, yeah, it's a great teacher. And, Larry Liggett told me a while back that they did him and a buddy did a project years ago, bucket trapping. Well, they were bucket trapping in the winter. And he said what they learned was that if you're not flipping your 220 upside down and running the triggers like a little bridge style or field goal style, they were missing bobcats and mink. And the mink could get in there and rob the bucket without snapping the 220. But when you set that 220 upside down, like he was talking, that changed that. And he mentioned that to me, and that makes a lot of sense. And
I run a lot of my
taught him that.
I run a lot of my conibears up pretty much upside down. I run a lot of them like that, even in the water. I'll run them because I'll run a dive stick on, whether it's an otter set or a beaver set. I run a dive stick, so all my triggers are on the bottom. My muskrat sets are the same way because I got a lot of mink that go in the same holes. So I understand that completely. And a lot of my triggers I do bend, and then some of my 110s or 120s that I'll use for mink, I'll actually put the triggers on the far, as far apart as I can, and I'll run a piece of really thin copper wire through around those so that it's almost completely blocked off. They have to hit it to go through.
Yeah, I think a guy could do a research project on conibear triggers and ways to put them, and we could learn off that for a long time, because a lot of guys just run them with the 2 prongs, either up or down. Some guys do the field goal post. Some guys make it kind of like a circle, kind of like you're talking. I think Jim Spencer does that a lot on mink trapping, and it does really well on mink. So I think a guy could spend forever researching and doing, different trigger styles, and we could always learn from it still.
Yeah, and I like honestly on a lot of my rat spots, if I'm gonna throw a 110 on a hole, I honestly will run my 110 sideways to where my triggers are this way instead of up or down.
Yeah.
And I like that too. That way, if the ground would get hard or if it freezes up, my trap can still shut sideways instead of, up or down instead of going sideways. So there's a lot of things that I just pick up along the way.
An old timer taught me something interesting. He said back in the day before they used conibears, he would put number 1 long springs in those runs, and then muskrat, just like beaver, run with their legs on the bottom for push off, and he would catch them muskrat runs with number 1 long springs down at the bottom of the water. Yep. And that really, that made a lot of sense to me, and I thought that was kind of interesting to hear.
Flessner just said he replaced all of his worn out and broken triggers with circle triggers. So
That's a good.
actually pretty interesting. Yeah, and we were just talking about those circle conibears bears too.
Yeah, the RBGs.
I mean, those things are awesome.
Yeah,
They are awesome.
and
we were talking about getting some.
and I know somebody posted the other day that I'm friends with about are they more productive and you
I'd say they have
and being biased toward them, you can say yes, but it all depends on your area. I've trapped a lot of spots that animals are trap shy. That RBG might be a completely different situation to them. Nothing in nature is square. Nothing. So that RBG is a killer. I mean, it's completely different.
And most of your muskrat holes
are circle. All your beaver huts, all your beaver dens, they're all circle. So it does come in handy.
It does. And I was watching an interesting video a guy posted the other day on Facebook, and a beaver was swimming at the bottom of his run out of his, I don't remember if it was a hut or a bank den, but it literally swam underneath the triggers of the conibear. Now, I think, and that sometimes we overthink that kind of stuff, but also at the same time, you throw an RBG in there, you might have that beaver where you may not have, well, that guy didn't. He missed it because his trigger wasn't set just right, you know.
Exactly. And one thing I wanted to bring up too, going back to trail cams and trail cam pictures, like they also can help out with conservation issues. I mean, we just talking about our buddy's property in Kentucky. He's got 8 coyotes on trail cam at one time. Yeah, that's nice to us, but that's horrible really for him and any population trying to survive on that property. And I mean, those are things that you need to take to the local DNR and get and tell them, like, look, we are having these problems. We talked to a guy because the NCA was here in Ohio this year, so a lot of the DNR guys were there, and we were talking to a guy, and he said this year should have been our first year of bobcat season. He said that when they did their research 5 years ago, they, 1, did it completely wrong, 2, had no trappers or anything like that, or farmers come in and make any type of complaints, and 3, no one turned in anything. No one turned in any sightings, any pictures, anything like that. And he said the research was completely, it was completely wrong. He said now we're looking for at another 3 to 5 years before we have a bobcat season, when really this year or next year should be our first year having one. And taking those trail cam pictures, I mean, that's a big thing. Because those things are out in the woods where animals are roaming. And if you have cats and stuff on camera, I mean, you guys have a season, but here, tell you right now, every cat I have in a foot trap this year, I'm telling ODNR about, and they're going to know about it. You know,
they need to be bothered about it. They do.
Exactly.
So they know what we're seeing.
Things taken care
and
of.
anybody around me that knows me here, or if they get pictures, I have them send them to me, and I save them all. So then when there is a meeting, ODNR usually does one meeting a month on a whatever day, and I'll take all them pictures in, you know, and be like, this is just from the last 3 weeks, or, you know, like, just to push the issue.
And what we've looked into doing is getting in good with a rep at that works for people. I mean, just getting his number and being able to send him over. Hey, just want to let you know, got another trail cam with some cats out on a property here in the county, or here, just wanted to send you this. We got, I mean, coyotes open all year round anyways, but we got 10 coyotes here on this property. Just wanted you to see this and know that, you know. So
definitely. And you know, Dale Billingsley told me one time they put a trail cam on a female bobcat's den, and I can't remember the number of fawns he told me, but it got sickening. They pulled the trail cam, I believe he said, because that one female bobcat had killed. It was mind-blowing amount of fawns. And so, I mean, those predator numbers need factored in. And also, I went to a DNR meeting here in Iowa, and they they ignored my comment that the nest raiders were having an effect on the bird population.
80 fawns.
Can you see the comments?
I can't, no.
Dale said you need to get a map of the state and put pins in it of the sightings and tracks of catches, present it to the DNR, which correct. But he said that video about that bobcat was 80 fawns.
That's insane. That's nuts.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, think what that did to that deer population in that area.
Yeah,
and that was just one area. Yes, yes.
Ass
And
man, what's up, buddy?
we
Right.
need to. Hey, what's up, Ryan? Hey, Dale. Appreciate you commenting on that. I wasn't sure on the number.
You see those comments now?
No, I can't. I hesitant to hit the chat button because I'm afraid of
You have like a
exiting
little
out of the-
comments button up on the right hand side.
No, I don't have anything up in the right hand side. I've got a
What's that
chat
tab?
button down below.
That might be it, honestly. Could be.
Yeah, it didn't bring up anything.
Okay.
We'll have to figure that out.
I know Fleshner told me the other day that.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, Fleshner told me the other day that sometimes people can see him and sometimes they can't. So.
Yeah, if you hit the chat button down and then select the comments, it'll show me now the comments. But then I can't see you guys. So I mean, it's one or the other kind of thing.
Oh, okay. It was a live feed camera on a cat den. 80 fawns choked by the throat. Later, they took the live feed down. That's crazy, though. But I mean, that comes to it, though. That's one female bobcat taking 80 fawns out. I mean, that's insane. Just think about, a state
the next
like
10 miles over.
Yeah, and think about a state like us in Ohio. I'm not going to sit here and say we have as many bobcats as you guys, but we got a shit ton out of here. I mean, we're right by Pennsylvania, West Virginia, especially here in our county. I mean, we're an hour and 15 minutes from both West Virginia and Pennsylvania. I mean, we have blackberries that run around here.
Yeah. Dale and I have had several conversations. The DNR need to remove the bobcat and the otter limit from 3 per license holder because we have an insane population of bobcats and otters. I can't even trap the way I want to because of those heavy populations.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. So what happens if, I guess I'll ask you this. You say you're running 220s, right? You've already caught your 3 limit on cats. What happens when you smack that 4th cat? You just call a DNR and they give you a tag for it and it is what it is?
No, they take it, and they skin it, and they sell it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And so
otters like that here.
Yeah.
We're
and I think otters
per license.
I think otters kill a lot of baby beaver and young beaver, guys, because I set up an active beaver area that was just, there had to have been 5 beaver there. And my snares were missing. I thought, man, that's strange. What's going on here? Well, it wasn't beaver that I was missing. It was otter. And I finally caught one. And then 3 of them were running on the banks. And all the beaver were dead. They're gone. They're no longer there. There were no other trappers. I'm pretty sure them otter came in and killed all the beaver.
Wow.
Well, we got a few minutes left. I do want to ask you one more thing, too. Winter time comes around. I know we're in the Midwest. We get hit with snow. How does that change your game plan with winter trapping? When that snow hits real heavy, your grounds are frozen. How does that change anything for you, or how do you come by getting through that snow?
I pull everything, and I switch to snares only and buckets. And I'll tell you what, guys, snares are a game changer in the snow. I can see the tracks and what the coyotes are doing, but also something about that is, I can run buckets under every bridge or do things under the bridges where there's no moisture hitting underneath too. So I can run snares and keep running hot, and it's easier and faster. And I should probably say I go ahead and hit them deer trails that I wouldn't hit early, because them deer tend to group up and just lay tight near food, and the predators start traveling them more than the deer.
Yep.
So
what's some advice you would give for somebody as a new trapper?
As a new trapper, I think it's very important that you pick 1 or 2 different people, whoever it be, and you focus on learning from those people only. I think there's too many sources of influence on new trappers. There's like that video I put out, too much information and misinformation. You need to pick somebody you think's credible 2, maybe 3 trappers and follow them. Okay, you need to follow them. You need to keep your own style while following those trappers, because you as a trapper are going to have your own style.
Yep.
You can learn from them, right? But don't just copy their styles.
Do you have any specific animals you suggest a new trapper start with, or?
I do. I believe it's based on area, whatever you got a lot of. So like here where I'm at, it's raccoon. But if you've got a lot of muskrat in your area, I'd suggest starting with muskrat. Start with something that you think's easy and highly populated, and really zone in from there. But just don't allow so many. You can learn from reading other trappers and watching other trappers, but really just hone in on a couple people so you don't get twisted around in circles trying to figure out what you're doing.
Right. Yep. And you also do a lot of nuisance trapping.
Yeah.
And I explained it the other day on Fleshner Outdoors. The differences between the fur trapping and the nuisance trapping. It's a game change. I mean, it is completely different.
It's not the same at all. I hear trappers all the time saying, "Oh, I'm a trapper. I can just roll over to the animal damage side of things." You're wrong. Okay, and it's not that you can't. It's just that attitude's the wrong attitude to have going into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got to be willing to learn. I have been schooled guys, and doing animal damage control, and luckily I've done fairly well. But again, I reached on to 2 or 3 animal damage control trappers and learned from them. Now you can get yourself caught with your britches down in the animal damage control world.
Oh, yeah,
one nuisance job that's in town and somebody sees something or somebody grabs the camera, you could be in a world of hurt. It's different.
Yeah.
Not discouraging anybody from doing it. Just make sure you do your homework, because learning the hard way, like I have a couple times, just isn't the fun way to go with it. And we all learn the hard way every once in a while.
Oh yeah, but animal damage control can really make or break somebody. The heat is killer.
Yes.
I told him the one day, like I'm down there in the swamp. I got waders on. You're already talking hot. It's 90 some degrees out. The horse flies are everywhere. I'm in this nasty mud and I'm just sweating, and I haven't even moved yet. You know what I mean? I haven't even took a step. And I'm just sweating, and I'm like, man, the pay sounds good. The pay sounds good at the end, but man, it's killing me right now.
We talking about that doing beaver jobs, man, out in the middle of these ponds. Some of these ponds we have are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
and you're walking.
And dude, we're sitting there sweating our asses off, bugs, bees flying all over the place, and we just look at each other. I can't wait till winter time. I can't wait.
You look at each other like, why did we decide to do that?
Why the hell did we do that?
Whose idea?
And I'll tell you what,
don't have all them beaver in the truck, and you're like, this is why we did that shit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, guys. A guy on one of the animal damage control sites beaver trapped over 20 years doing nuisance work, and he got caught without water and almost died from the heat just this summer. Somebody found him and got him out of there, but he almost died. You really need to pre-think. Any trappers on here wanting to go into animal damage control, really think about what you're doing, because you can get caught in a bad situation. Tucker knows it. You guys both know it. Like you said, you're out there in the swamp. There's nothing around. You can't drink that water. I mean, you can, but you'll die from that too. You know,
it's got beaver from the beaver.
Yeah. So I mean, just be safe and really do your homework on it. You guys know that
it's no different in the winter. Honestly, when I'm out fur trapping, I make sure I have a lot of extra stuff with me in the truck, or at least close by. I always have a book bag. I have stuff in there for me. But I always let somebody know where I'm going, and there's a good bit of people around here that know my normal route and know my truck. So,
and it's easy to get dehydrated in the wintertime. That's the one thing a lot of people don't realize. I mean,
it is.
I'm certified personal trainer, and when I did all my stuff, I learned a lot about that. I mean, because I know if I'm not sweating my ass off, I don't want to be drinking water. You know what I mean? So you go, I mean, winter you can go all day and not even think about even drinking a bottle of water. And when you're out there, I mean, like our line's 60 miles this year, and a lot of it we're walking a lot of miles. I mean, like you said, we always make sure we have stuff on us and take care of our bodies as much as we can, get as much rest as we can on the days we need it. I mean, like I said, a 60-mile trap line, we split that between the morning and afternoons after work, and then still have to come home, skin, and do everything else. So you got
it's hard on me.
And got to worry about ourselves too at the end of the day. You know, I mean, make sure that we're keeping ourselves able to do this as long as we can.
I want to caution any new trappers, if you're entering the water, you need to have something to help you with stability. You jump in with chest waders. I took Dale Billingsley's advice. I carry a tile spade, but I always used to have like a heavy-duty walking stick.
Yep.
You can sink in the mud up to your waist at the drop of a hat.
And we've done that multiple times. I mean, you step one spot and shoot, you're down.
Yeah, and you could drown out there. I mean, it's a real threat.
There's literally been times I was sitting over there. He went to go pull a trap one day, and I'm sitting on the four-wheeler because he's just pulling the trap. And I see him just go whoosh, and he's Cam.
I sunk to my chest in mud.
Yeah, he's all the way down there in mud. I'm sitting here trying to pull him out while I'm sitting in the mud. And he just turned. I mean, it's not always, the outdoors isn't always the safest thing. And that's when being smart, knowing what you're doing, and like you said, learning from other people. Don't be a new trapper and say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go out and try to do this. Learn from people, watch some videos, because a lot of things.
Do your homework.
Yep, do your homework.
And none of us know it all. None of us know it all. No. We're all still learning, and we're learning together.
And that comes back to us being a tight-knit community. I mean, that's one good thing about trapping is I can text you or text Dale, or you know what I mean, and say, hey, da-da-da-da-da. I mean, you can't do that all the time, and especially in a lot of other things. But
and Dale will help anybody else.
Anything else you want to tell the guys? I mean, we got about 3 minutes here.
Just love the outdoors. At the end of the day, don't get caught up in politics, guys, because it does happen a little in the trapping world too. Just go outdoors, get your mind right, have some fun, spend some time with your kids out there. That's what it's about, guys. At the end of the day, it's just simple. It's get out there and enjoy nature, and that's what I love doing, and I hope everybody on here does too.
Yeah, I know I do.
Yeah, me too.
I'm obsessed a little bit, and you guys are too.
Just a tad bit.
Anyway, if everybody that's on here or everybody that comes through and watches, Logan here has his page on YouTube as the No Name Trapper. You guys can go ahead, look him up. He's got a lot of good informational videos on trapping and looking for sign and stuff like that. I know Dale Billingsley's on here commenting. A lot of you guys might know him, a lot of you might not. Billingsley Brand Trapping Lures. Dale's got a lot of videos on YouTube also. He does a really good job. Fleshner Outdoors is on here commenting. He also has a lot.
I will post Logan's YouTube and stuff in the comments section. And also we'll post it in our Facebook page if you guys are members of our page. So, because he's a good mind to talk to. As you guys see, we just went through an hour. Could probably go through a whole nother hour of talking trapping.
Yep.
So.
And Ryan was commenting a little bit ago. I'm going to try to get Ryan on here next week, hopefully. He is very inspirational, honestly.
You guys talk about doing it for the love of the life. That's the man to talk to. You'll hear a lot about his journey and stuff if we can get him on here.
And you guys would be surprised. Don't ever think that you can't do it.
Don't ever think you can't do it, man, because there's a way, there's a will. But we appreciate you, Logan, man. We'll stay in touch.
I'll be shipping some. I got that bait still. I'm going to ship it out to you this week. And I'll be getting some T-shirts in here in the next week. They are ordered. I'm just waiting on them to get made. Yep. And I'll hook you up.
Yep.
Let me know what I owe you, and I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do.
Not a problem, buddy.
Sounds good.
Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cool. All right, everybody. We're going to wrap this up here. I appreciate everybody that going on tonight. I enjoyed having Logan on. He's a great guest. He's also a very good trapper from my knowledge. Sure. And I keep up on his videos. I help Logan out as much as I can, and he helps me out a whole hell of a lot. Honestly, I get a hold of him quite often, even just to shoot the shit. It was good.
One thing I do want to mention while we're on here closing up this podcast, we do have t-shirts and stuff getting made right now, as we just heard. So anybody watching this, if you guys are interested, shoot us over. You can comment your size and stuff in here, or if you're on our Facebook page, you can go ahead and message us on Facebook. Let us know your sizes, so that way we can start getting those pre-orders and stuff ready. Also, we will be talking to a couple places to start some conventions. I know we've talked a lot about that on our Facebook page. If you're new here on our YouTube page, let us know if you'd be interested in something like that. I mean, as you heard in the beginning of our podcast, the goal is to keep the culture alive and keep this thing going, getting the kids involved, and that's what would be the goals of some of those conventions.
And before we get off here, one last thing. I want to give a shout out to Dale Billingsley at Billingsley Brand Trapping Lures.
Yes,
you
sir.
guys go online, check him out, and support somebody local or support somebody that's out of small business. Fleshner Outdoors, he's a great guy. He had me on last week.
Be another guy we'll get on the podcast sometime too.
And he also is working on making some baits and stuff. He's a trapper, he's a hunter, and he is a fisherman. He has a page. You guys can go on there and order stuff from him also. It was good having you guys, and
We're the
Avid
Avid
Outdoorsman, and we're out.